Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. How Good American Family showrunners Katie Robbins and Sarah Sutherland brought a morally tangled tale to life. When showrunner Katie Robbins delved into the material for Hulu's Good American Family, she quickly realized that the true story, rife with contradictions, biases, and evolving perspectives, offered the ideal foundation for a compelling series. You'd read one version of the story, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what happened. And then you'd go and you'd read somebody else's interview, and you'd be like, no, this is what happened, Robbins said. Robbins teamed up with longtime collaborator Sarah Sutherland to bring this morally tangled tale to life. The two have worked on more than 50 episodes of television together, and their creative shorthand and deep respect for each other became critical to navigating the show's emotional complexities. The duo explained their shared goal: to create a layered character drama that honored the emotional truth of its characters without flattening them into heroes or villains, as part of our Meet the Experts TV showrunner panel. We had this incredibly robust research team led by Riva Mandelbaum, Robbins said. Thousands of documents, court records, depositions, Facebook messages, medical records. So much to sift through. But the real challenge was tonal. How do you tell a story that begins with one family's narrative and then pivots mid-season to a completely different perspective without losing the audience? The show starts in the perspective of the Barnetts. For the first 4 episodes, that's the lens. And then at a certain point, that shifts. Suddenly, we're made to question everything that we thought was true, Robbins explained. That tonal shift was made possible by what both showrunners describe as a dream cast. Ellen Pompeo and Mark Duplass each played dual versions of their characters, how they saw themselves and how they were seen by others, while newcomer Imogen Reed, as Natalia, carried the weight of the show's emotional and thematic turn. Finding her was extraordinary, Robbins said. She plays every age, every perspective. What you see in the very beginning is very different from what you see in the middle, and very different from the end. Sutherland was equally effusive. The moment I first met her in a room feels like those stories in Ninjan lore where you're like, I saw her and I knew this was a star. But Good American Family wasn't just about performance. It was about moral perspective. The biggest challenge was that when you sit with the research, it's very natural to demonize these people, Sutherland said. We had to trust that our commitment to empathizing with them would pay off. And it has. It's been really rewarding to see the audience say, I thought this thing at the beginning. And then, oh my gosh, it's actually this. Television in 2025 is awash in glossy dramas, gritty procedurals, and reality spectacles designed to capture short attention spans. But every so often, a series emerges that dares to slow down, peer beneath the surface, and ask its audience difficult questions about loyalty, morality, and what it means to be a family in America. Good American Family is that show. Its DNA is complex, layered with shades of gray, and its pulse is driven by the daring creative choices of showrunners Katie Robbins and Sarah Sutherland. When Robbins and Sutherland first pitched the series, they weren't trying to write another political drama or domestic saga. They wanted to write something messy. A story where heroes and villains weren't clearly defined, where betrayal was sometimes laced with tenderness, and where the goodness of a family depended on who was telling the story. We weren't interested in making saints or sinners, Robbins explained in early press notes. We wanted to explore what happens when people are trapped between the ideals of what an American family should look like and the reality of who Good American Family is the enigmatic Whitmore clan, led by Patriarch Richard, a small-town politician with big ambitions and even bigger secrets. His wife Eleanor is the heart of the household, warm but shrewd, fiercely protective, yet quietly complicit. Their 3 children embody different responses to inherited moral compromise. One seeks to uphold tradition, one rebels against it, and one tries to straddle the two worlds, with devastating results. What sets Good American Family apart isn't just the storyline, it's the tone. Robbins and Sutherland make deliberate use of tension, silence, and contradictions. One episode will linger in a sun-drenched kitchen, where Eleanor calmly but coldly slices fruit while negotiating her husband's latest cover-up. Another might plunge into a claustrophobic courtroom, where a son testifies against his father in a voice that quivers with both fear and devotion. The show thrives in this liminal space, where love and corruption collide. For Robbins, whose previous work on prestige dramas honed her sense of pacing and character depth, Good American Family was an opportunity to craft something morally tangled yet emotionally raw. "I wanted viewers to feel complicit," she said. To ask themselves, if this were my family, what would I do? Would I lie? Would I protect them? Or would I burn it all down? Sutherland, stepping into her first major showrunning role, brought an actor's sensitivity to the project. Known to many for her sharp performances, she understood the subtleties that performers need to elevate morally complex characters. On set, she became a translator between the script and the actors, encouraging them to find the cracks in their characters' armor. Sarah pushed us to find the truth in the smallest gestures, one cast member revealed. She'd say, "Don't play the villain, play the person who thinks they're right." That's where the power comes from. The Creative Duos partnership is itself a study in contrasts. Robbins meticulous and structured, Sutherland instinctive and fluid. They balanced each other in the writer's room, sometimes arguing passionately about whether a character's choice was too dark or not dark enough. We always said, if we weren't slightly uncomfortable with a storyline, it probably wasn't bold enough, Sutherland laughed in an interview. Their shared vision was to craft a show that looked like Americana on the surface, but pulsed with moral ambiguity underneath. The opening credits, with their nostalgic snapshots of family picnics, baseball games, and town parades, dissolve into shadows and whispers, reminders that every smiling photograph has a hidden story. But the magic of Good American Family didn't just come from the writing. Robbins and Sutherland made radical choices in production, too. They favored long, uninterrupted takes that forced viewers to sit in discomfort rather than cutting away. They layered sound design with fragments of overheard conversations, creating an atmosphere of paranoia. And they worked closely with costume designers to use clothing as a visual metaphor. Eleanor's dresses shift from warm florals to cool, sharp lines as her complicity deepens. Critics have already hailed the series as one of the most daring of the year, comparing it to the morally charged prestige dramas of the early 2000s, but noting its fresh, distinctly female lens. Where earlier anti-hero sagas focused on the downfall of men, Good American Family dares to ask, what about the women who stand beside them, hold their secrets, and sometimes wield just as much power? The morally tangled nature of the show also extends to its portrayal of generational conflict. The Whitmore children's struggles mirror broader American debates about legacy, accountability, and justice. Can a family built on lies reinvent itself, or are its members doomed to repeat the sins of the past? Robbins and Sutherland never provide easy answers. Instead, they let the characters twist, falter, and stumble, leaving the audience to wrestle with the implications. Even behind the scenes, the show's creation was a test of balancing integrity with pressure. Network executives initially worried that the story was too dark, too morally ambiguous, too unwilling to offer a clean resolution. But Robbins and Sutherland held their ground. We knew that sanitizing it would strip the story of its soul. Robbins insisted, "Life isn't clean. Families aren't clean. Why should television pretend they are?"